Hello there, I'm Dr. Amna Shabbir, and I want you to think about the last conversation you had. Maybe a work meeting, maybe a difficult exchange with a loved one. Are you replaying it in your head right now? Analyzing every word you said, cataloging every mistake, convinced you ruined the entire thing because of one awkward moment? If so, you're not just overthinking, you're experiencing a cognitive distortion, a thinking pattern that perfectionism amplifies and reinforces. One of the most common distortions perfectionists face is all or none thinking. Today, I'm going to walk you through what cognitive distortions are, why perfectionists are especially vulnerable to them, to start rewiring your brain so you can think more clearly, sleep better, and stop the mental replay loop. Let's begin. Cognitive distortions are systematic errors in thinking, ways your brain interprets reality that aren't accurate but feel absolutely true. The term was popularized by psychiatrist Aaron Beck in the 1960s and later expanded by David Burns in his work on cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive distortions aren't just negative thinking, they're patterns that distort your perception of reality. Everyone experiences cognitive distortions, they're a part of being human. But for perfectionists, certain distortions, particularly all or none thinking, show up more frequently and more intensely. All or none thinking is also called black and white thinking or dichotomous thinking. This is when you see things in extremes with no middle ground. For example, if I can't do it perfectly, I shouldn't do it at all. I either succeed completely or I am a total failure. If I make one mistake, everything is ruined. If I'm not the best, I'm the worst. Notice the pattern. There's no gray area, no room for nuance, no acknowledgement of partial success or learning. This isn't just unhelpful thinking. Research shows that all or none thinking is strongly correlated with anxiety, depression, procrastination, and burnout. Because when your brain only recognizes two options, perfect or failure, you're constantly living in fear of the failure side. So you avoid starting, you procrastinate, you ruminate, you overwork, you never feel satisfied, and you end up being extremely exhausted. Why perfectionism amplifies cognitive distortions? Perfectionists operate from a deficit thinking, the belief that you're fundamentally not enough. So when you succeed, your brain doesn't say, great job, it says, yeah, but you could have done better. When you make a mistake, your brain doesn't say, that's part of learning. It says, see, you're incompetent. You ruined everything. This is why perfectionists struggle so much with cognitive distortions. Your brain is actively scanning for evidence that you're failing, lacking, or not enough. And all or none thinking gives your brain the perfect framework to do that. Let me give you some real examples across different areas of life. For example, at work, you give a presentation, it goes well. People ask thoughtful questions. Your boss thanks you. Your team thanks you. But you stumbled over one word in the middle, or you had a human moment, or maybe the tech didn't work. A non-perfectionist might think that went well. I stumbled a bit, but overall, it went well. A perfectionist thinks I messed up. Everyone noticed. The whole thing was a disaster. I am terrible at public speaking. I've done that many times. Let's think about entrepreneurship. You launch a new product or service. You get 8 positive reviews and 1 critical one. A non-perfectionist might think, great feedback overall. That one critique has a good point. I can improve that. But a perfectionist is going to say, this is failure. That person saw right through me. I shouldn't have launched this. Everyone probably thinks the same, but isn't saying it. Let's talk about parenting. Your child has a meltdown at the grocery store. You handle it as best as you can, but you raised your voice once. A non-perfectionist might think that was hard. I wasn't perfect, but I stayed mostly calm and we got through it. A perfectionist might think I'm a terrible parent. I yelled. I traumatized my child. Everyone was judging me. I've ruined them. And yeah, I felt that way as well. Let's talk about in a social setting. You have dinner with friends, the conversation flows well, but there's some awkward silences, maybe one or two. A non-perfectionist might think that was a nice evening, a little lull in the conversation was overall great, but a perfectionist might say, I think I killed the vibe. They probably think I'm boring, they're never going to invite me again, I should have been more interesting. See the pattern? One small imperfection becomes total failure. That's all or none thinking in action. So let's interrupt this pattern. I'm going to give you a simple exercise you can do right now or the next time you notice all or none thinking creeping in. It's called the truth test. Here's how it works. Step 1, take a blank piece of paper. Step 2, write down the last 3 to 4 thoughts you've been having. Maybe it's I completely failed that pitch to the investor, or I'm a terrible parent, or I ruined the entire dinner party, or that meeting was a disaster, or I'm a terrible leader. Write them down exactly as they appear in your head, and even, write down those unkind words exactly as you're saying them to yourself. Now let's go to step 3. Now for each thought, ask yourself one question. Is this actually true? Not does this feel true? Is it objectively, factually true? Let's take the parenting example. I'm a terrible parent. Is that actually true? Or is it more accurate to say, I raised my voice once during a stressful moment, but I also comforted my child afterward, apologized, and we've had hundreds of loving interactions? See the difference? One is all or none thinking, the other is reality. Now, your brain will resist this. It will say, yeah, but I did mess up. People probably think I am a bad parent. I should have been better. And I want you to notice that voice. That's your cognitive distortion talking to you. Your job isn't to believe this reframe yet. Just acknowledge what happened. Acknowledging and noticing the facts is a way to interpret, right? All or none thinking thrives when the only lens you're using is how you feel and the conversation that you're having with yourself. So it's really critical to look at the facts and to introduce nuance and acknowledge the gray, because the gray is where life happens. This is where everything is happening. Excellence, or rather excellencism, doesn't live in the extremes of perfection or failure. It lives in the messy middle, where you're learning, iterating, making mistakes, and getting better. Good enough can coexist with excellence. You can rest without lowering those standards. You can make a mistake without being a complete failure. You can be ambitious and compassionate with yourself. These aren't contradictions. They're the reality of being a high-functioning, complex human being. Remember, you're not a robot. But perfectionism doesn't let you see it that way. It forces you into the extremes, and cognitive distortions like all or none thinking keep you trapped there. So here's what I invite you to practice. The next time you catch yourself thinking in extremes, pause. Ask yourself, what's the nuanced truth here? Not the catastrophic version, not the airbrushed version, the nuanced truth. And then write it down. Because when you externalize your thoughts, when you get them out of your head and onto paper, you can see them more clearly. You can challenge them instead of having them floating around in your brain. You can then reframe them because you actually have data to work with. And over time, you start rewiring the neural pathways that have been reinforcing these distortions for years. This is how you stop replaying that conversation at 2 a.m. This is how you stop procrastinating out of fear. This is how you start thinking more clearly and sleeping better. Now, what I just walked you through is a taste of metacognition, thinking about your thinking. Metacognitive awareness is a critical skill for examining perfectionism and thriving all around. When you develop metacognitive skills, you become an observer of your own thought patterns. You can catch distortions in real time. You can interrupt them before they spiral. And this is deep work, which is why any client who signs up with me gets bonus access to my complete online curriculum, which includes an entire module on metacognition. We go deeper into cognitive distortions, thought records, belief systems, and more. These are quick, bite-sized videos, worksheets, and implementables that you can use immediately. And no, I know what you're thinking. These are not those boring modules that make you want to go to sleep. They're practical, reliable, and designed for busy, high-achieving people like you who want tools that actually work. Because metacognitive awareness isn't just about positive thinking. It's about seeing your thoughts clearly so you can choose which ones to believe and which ones to question. So let's recap what we covered today. Cognitive distortions are systematic errors in thinking. Everyone has them. Perfectionism amplifies certain ones, especially all or none thinking. All or none thinking keeps you stuck in extremes with no room for nuance, learning, or partial success. The truth test. Write down your thoughts. Ask yourself, is this actually true? Find the nuanced reality. That's it. That's the tool. Next time you catch yourself replaying a conversation or spiraling into a catastrophic space of thinking, you have something concrete to interrupt the pattern. The gray area exists, and it's where excellencism actually lives. If you want deeper support rewiring these patterns, I would love to work with you. cognitive restructuring, identifying and challenging these thought distortions is core to my one-on-one coaching. Plus, you'll get access to my complete online curriculum with that metacognition module. I do offer a limited number of complimentary strategy sessions. Feel free to schedule one. And until next time, take care of yourself. You're worth it. Thanks for listening. You might believe you don't have the time or energy to focus on yourself, but this is exactly the right time to get serious about your well-being. You don't have to do it all alone. I'm here to help. If you enjoyed this video and are ready to take the next step, head over to dramnashabbir.com where you'll find free resources you can access right away. The website link is below. Let's get started on your path to thriving.